What's up, everybody? Brady Fiel here, coming at you with another video talking about one of my favorite albums. Today we're going to be talking about SixxAM with their debut album, the Heroin Diaries Soundtrack. If you're not familiar with this band or this album, was essentially the side project of Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, also featuring DJ Ashba, formerly of Guns N' Roses, and vocalist and at the time drummer James Michael. And the album was written about and coinciding with the release of Nikki Sixx's autobiography of sorts, where he discusses his heroin addiction and him getting through it. Now, I've actually never read the book just because I'm not much of a reader. If I was a reader, I probably would have read it by now, but I'm just not. But I do think that there's enough context in these songs, whether it's in the lyrics or in the overall atmosphere and mood of the album, which is one of my favorite parts of it, which I'll talk about, or in the spoken word parts that Nikki Sixx does. The lyrics and the lyrical theme are definitely an integral part of this album that are also one of my favorite parts of it. And although Nikki Sixx obviously wrote the lyrics and they're about him, they are sung by vocalist James Michael. But when I'm talking about the lyrics here, I am going to be saying, as Nikki Sixx says, even though James Michael's the one who's actually saying it. I just felt the need to put that disclaimer out there. But there are several layers to this album in every field, in terms of lyrics, in terms of sound, in terms of overall atmosphere, like I mentioned. These are all things that I love about this album, and there definitely is an element of nostalgia with it as well, because I remember my dad playing this album in the car when I was younger. And when you're exposed to music that is so emotive, like this album is, in literally every emotion possible, it really sticks with you. But even however many years later, as my music tastes have grown and changed a lot and matured, I still find myself really enjoying this album. For one, the album maintains a dramatic, once again emotive, but somewhat of an avant-garde atmosphere throughout its entire run. The fluctuations in this album, as far as each individual track, make this album fittingly an emotional roller coaster. Whether it's the bright, uplifting hit song Life is Beautiful, or the mournful mid-tempo song Tomorrow, the dark, dramatic, and apocalyptic feel of the song Heart Failure, or the despair in a song like Accidents Can Happen. The order in which these songs are arranged as well just really complements the overall story, and this is a concept album. When you listen to the lyrics and you listen to the music, it is easy to follow, which is my favorite parts of albums that are concept albums like this that literally tell a story. And while I could make further points in that regard, I just want to dive into these lyrics because they beg discussion. Like the first proper track on here, Van Nuys, kind of has a combination between some personal lyrics in the life of Nikki Sixx, but also kind of touch on society as a whole, which none of the other songs really do on here. That main chorus line, everyone's eyes are blue, everyone's mouth is dry, yet nobody wants to die, one of my favorite lines on the whole album. It almost touches on hypocrisy in society, in the sense that people care so much about appearance, yet they do things like drugs that degrade them and break them down from the inside. And despite people doing these dangerous things like physical altercations, both on the surface appearance level and on the inner level, physically inner level, by doing drugs, nobody wants to die. Like you're killing yourself, yet you don't want to die. The song Pray For Me, great introspective lyrics on that one, on the part of Nikki Sixx. This song just really centers on the mind of an addict, in a sense that it's talking about a she or a her, which I assume would be his significant other at the time. Like I said, I didn't read the book. And he's literally singing about how this woman is trying to help him. She's trying to get him clean. She's hiding his stuff. She's taking drastic action to try and get him clean. And in Nikki's mind, he knows that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to help him, but he's recognizing that he doesn't want that help. Like, he wishes he wants it, but he doesn't want it. And in retaliation, he's kind of telling her to just pray for him and not actually do physical things to help him get clean. In a sense, he's saying, don't take away my drugs, just hope for the best for me. The track Accidents Can Happen talks about when he finally does get clean and then relapses. I love the despair in James Michaels' voice when he says, "It's only one day, you haven't thrown everything away." It sounds like James Michael is a friend of his actually saying these words to Nikki Sixx. Girl with Golden Eyes, despite having the clearest metaphors on this album in a sense that the girl is heroin. Again, that main line of James Michael just singing everything will be okay, everything will be all right, coupled with the overall despair and somewhat bringing in vibes of like there being a light, a distant light at the end of the tunnel, make this one of the most emotional tracks on the album. And moving on to instrumentals and overall mood, the track Dead Man's Ballet is just so like dynamic in its mood. The song has some of the most introspective lyrics, music that literally sounds tormented and psychotic, with those pianos that twinkle in the background, whether it's those delicate vocal sections where they kind of just add that extra layer of ambiance, or it's that, again, psychotic sounding, like dissonant, just thunderous, I don't even know how to describe this part. It first appears at exactly a minute in and has these frantic backing vocals with it. It's such a unique sound. There's also a Courtesy Call with, again, that really mournful, clean guitar intro, which I love. And even the last proper track on here, Permission, which is a bit more instrumentally straightforward and transparent, it still is very warm sounding. And lyrically, it kind of sees Nikki Sixx embracing the people that were there for him. Another thing I have to seriously compliment this album on is that despite Nikki Sixx being the clear vocal point of the album and the songwriting, the musicians on here, DJ Ashba and James Michael, have so many shining moments. Both of these guys really get to shine as musicians on this album, which is wonderful to see, especially in what is somewhat of, I don't want to say solo record, but where Nikki is the clear focal point. Some of my favorite instances of this, starting with DJ Ashba on guitar, is those chaotic guitar leads and the bridge of the song Pray For Me. Love the feeling I get from that. And most notably, the instrumental intermission track on here, which features an amazing guitar solo. And James Michael on this album, his voice is just unbelievable on so many different parts. The opening track, Van Nuys, sees him flawlessly going in and out of his higher and lower range. His falsetto vocals on Accidents Can Happen and Dead Man's Ballet are absolutely beautiful. Also, those just vocal inflections he does on Courtesy Call as the song progresses. And lastly, it has to be said, especially for me, who always hates on songs like this, but the instrumental tracks on here are just icing on the cake. My favorite one by far being Intermission. This is one of my favorite interlude type tracks, period, on any album. Like, it starts with those whimsical avant-garde wind sections. They kind of get stripped back when the spoken word parts kick in, but then get more and more full. And then again, later in the song, you get that epic guitar solo, which kind of plays off of those parts. And then the track closes with that haunting piano section. Xmas in Hell is great too, with those group vocals doing the Christmas song. I don't even know the name of it. And even just those little twinkles at the beginning of the song and Nikki's spoken word part. This song actually does sound like Christmas in Hell. Some more great guitar leads behind those group vocals. And really the only part on this entire album that underwhelms me a little bit is the closing track. It's called Life After Death, and it does kind of wrap things up a bit, but the group vocals in that song just are a bit more corny to me. Maybe just because the ones in Xmas in Hell sound so much more epic. Instrumentally, there's not a whole lot going on in that track either. This isn't a bad song, and by then you've just been hit with this insane roller coaster of emotions in every single layer of this album. It's pretty forgivable. But seriously, listening back on this album now, it blows my mind, especially considering, like, I'm not a Motley Crue fan. I really dislike hair metal, actually, in general. So just the fact that this album hits me so hard and I love it so much says a lot about the quality of music on here. That's all I have for you guys today, though. If you have not checked out this album and you're a fan of hard rock, progressive rock to some degree, definitely check this album out. And if you are familiar with this album and you have listened to it, let me know what you think about it. Remember to hit the subscribe button for more rock and metal related content. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.